Well, when I tell y'all, being on that dedicated account has gotten me so spoiled. Man, actually have to work and do stuff now. Oh, and by the way, this trailer's for sale. Man, what is... Alright, messing up my intro. What's going on, y'all? Johnson's Logic finally leaving this receiver, man. I have been here for 36 hours because they had a, I guess they had some type of maintenance issue and shut down their whole receiving department. Like,
in 3/4 of a mile, turn
man,
right.
I got here at 2 p.m. like Wednesday. It is now 2:30 a.m. Friday morning. I've been stuck here waiting to get unloaded. So my original appointment was for 11 p.m. on Wednesday, the 21st. So, like, yeah, I got here early, but you know, I got here early. Like, what do you want me to do? So, which was fine. It was like, it was planned because I figured I'd get here early. I've been here once before when I was at Prime, and I remember they had overnight parking. Not a big deal. So I came in early and let them know, like, hey, I'm early. If you guys can get to me, great. If not, you know, whatever. It's like, yeah, we'll get to you. You know, go to the other side of the street, and you know, you're gonna get unloaded over there because you're driving. I was like, okay, that's fine. Get over there, gave them my paperwork. They're like, we'll come get you.
In 1/4 mile, turn right.
When there's a door available. And I'm like, okay. So I parked probably 2:30-ish. I get parked in their back lot, and I went to sleep, like I said, you know. So fell asleep around 3 o'clock. I probably woke up around 9:30, 10, and it's like, okay, you know, I kind of get ready to get up. I sat up and was watching TV, watching really the time go by. So finally, like 12 o'clock rolls around, and I still haven't, you know, still haven't heard back. And oh, blinker would have been nice. Still hadn't heard from anyone, so I flagged down one of the yard guys. I'm like, hey, you know, I got here 2 o'clock, but gave you guys my paperwork, and my appointment was for 11. You know, it's 12 o'clock, I still haven't gotten a door. And he told me, he's like, man, I sure hated to be the one to tell you this. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, well, we had a mechanical failure. So like our whole receiving dock is shut down. I'm like, seriously? He's like, yeah, we're trying to get it back up and running. You know, it's gonna be a couple of hours, like, but we're gonna come get you. You know, you were here first. You're first one to come get, you know, unloaded. And I'm like, okay. So I just need to get over. So I'm like, okay, you know, that's fine. Just come, you know, just come get me. No big deal. And so I go back to watching TV. I probably dozed off probably around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I woke up at like 9:30. So, you know, obviously I woke up and I'm confused because, you know, I didn't knock up to a wake on the door, you know, I didn't wake up to a knock on the door. I woke up just because I was, you know, done resting. And still no door. So I'm like, what the heck? So start my truck up, drive back around to where the docks are, you know, to find one of the yard guys, and it's like, hey, my appointment was last night. See, you could have just stayed behind me for all that. So I go and find one of the yard guys, and I'm like, hey, like, my appointment was last night. You know, it's almost 12 hours later. Like, you know, did you guys forget about me? And he's like, oh, do you have your paperwork? I'm like, no, I gave it to somebody yesterday afternoon. I've been here since, you know, 2 p.m. He's like, seriously? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, well, let me go see if I can find your paperwork. So he goes inside, comes back out. He's like, hey, we don't have your paperwork. And I'm like, yes, yeah, I promise you guys do. I had 2 copies, and I gave you both. You know, and that's on me. Usually, that's what I normally do. I give them 2 copies so they know to sign one and give it back to me. So he's like, no, you know, it's lost. And I'm like, okay, well, I still need to be unloaded regardless of lost paperwork. You know, I still need to get empty. Like, I have another load to pick up today. And he's like, yeah, go back across the street. They made a copy of your paperwork across the street, right? And I'm like, yes. He's like, can you go across the street and see if they still have the copy of your paperwork? And I'm like, okay. So I drive across the street to the office. And I'm like, hey, you know, the building across the street lost my paperwork yesterday. Do you guys have a copy so I can get unloaded? And he's like, we don't keep copies. And I'm like, I promise you guys made a copy. I was standing right here. I watched him make a copy and put it in, you know, a little box on the wall. And he's like, he put it in this little box right here. So asked me for my trailer number. I gave it to him. And no cars, no cars, no cars. So I gave it to him, you know, gave him my trailer number. And he looks through the paperwork and everything. And he's like, man, I don't have your paperwork here either. You know, where you were dropping hook. I'm like, no, I'm a live unload. He's like, oh, we don't keep live unload paperwork, you know, more than a day because we assume that you get unloaded. I'm like, well, I hate to tell you this, but I didn't get unloaded. Like, I'm still here. And he's like, huh? So he starts making calls, and he's like, you know, is there a way to call the shipper to find out, you know, where your paperwork is? You know, if you can get another copy of your paperwork. And I'm like, well, ironically, the shipper is also you. So, no, I can't. I'm talking to you guys. Like, it was a DC to DC. So, if you guys don't have a copy, I can't get it from the shipper because that's also you. So, just like with you guys, I don't have a phone number I can call. And neither do they. They're like, well, can you call your agent? And I'm like, the agent has been trying to call you guys, and no one's answering. So, I don't doubt that they're going to get the same, you know, treatment, you know, trying to call the shipper. He's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you know, we can't unload you without paperwork. I'm like, all right, sir, you don't really understand. Like, my job as a driver is to pick paperwork up from a shipper, get the product, bring it to the receiver, and give the receiver my paperwork. Like, I completed all of those steps. So in my eyes, I did my job. It's you guys' fault that you lost my paperwork. Like, why are you pushing it on me as the driver when it was your mistake? And he's like, well, that's not really how it works. And I'm like, well, listen, it's how it's gonna work with me, because again, I did my job. You guys failed to do yours. So you need to figure out either A, who has my paperwork or where it is, or 2, since it's DC to DC, just unload my trailer and you can sort out the paperwork later on your end. But I have to go. I have another load to go pick up. So he's like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Let me go ahead and make some calls. And I'm like, great. Made some calls. Supervisor across the street, you know, he could talk to supervisor across the street. And he's like, you know, go ahead and send the driver back. You know, we'll try and figure it out. So go back across the street. Yard guy comes out. He's like, did you get the paperwork from across the street? I'm like, no, the supervisor told me to come back over here. And he was like, oh, well, I don't know. I don't have any instructions. I'm like, I don't know. But he talked to the supervisor. And if you haven't talked to him, then you and I need to talk to the supervisor, because I still have product on my trailer. You know, it was 2,000 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, it was half a trailer full of boxes, 2,000 pounds. It can't be that hard to take it off and put it on the floor so I can go. So ended up getting the supervisor, and he found my paperwork, which was great. He's like, I found your paperwork, so that's no longer a problem. I'm like, great. I was supposed to get unloaded last night. Can I please be unloaded? So, you know, right now, because I have to go. I have to go drive to my next load to go pick up, you know, so I can get home for the holidays. And he's like, yeah, well, here comes the bad news. I'm like, okay, you know, what's the bad news? He's like, well, our machines are still down. Like, I've had to call in everyone from, you know, that is not supposed to work today. Everyone's working overtime trying to hand sort out through all these boxes because nothing is on, you know, at least my stuff. He's like, nothing is on pallets. Like, we have to like do every box by hand, and it's taking all of us. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Well, you know, how long is this going to take? You know, like I said, I have another load. I have to like communicate with my next agent to figure out, you know, with my next customer to figure out, you know, if I'm be able to pick up their stuff on time. And he's like, man, honestly, I don't know. I'm like, that's not good. Like, someone needs to know, because I still have a job to do. So he's like, man, I'm trying my best, like, just bear with me. And by this point, I had already been here 24 hours. Like, I had already gone home, so I took all of my stuff off the truck. Like, I didn't have any, I usually keep food on the truck. I took all my food off on the truck because I knew I was only going to be gone 2 days. You know, I was just going to eat at the truck stop. So I had been sitting on their property at this point for, you know, almost 24 hours. I haven't had any food, haven't had a shower, you know.
3/4 miles next
luckily,
right,
but unluckily as well, they had a bathrooms, but they're porta potties. And I don't know if anyone's tried to use a porta potty in, you know, 20 and 30 degree weather while it's raining in the middle of the night, but it's awful. So I'm just beyond irritated. And I did go off on him without using curse words. I did kind of snap on him. It was kind of like the final straw. And he's like, man, I get it. You know, I'm really sorry that this is happening. Like, I get it. I know you're trying to get home for the holidays, but there's really nothing I can do right now but try and sort out the boxes that we have on hand right now. You know, and unfortunately, the product that you have, we don't need right now. So live loads are normally a priority, but right now with, you know, our floor, I call it like a red status or whatever it is. I'm like, with our floor in this type of status, I'm pretty sure this is the wrong lane. Nope, this is the right lane. You know, with our floor in, you know, on a code red, basically, like, unfortunately, you're no longer a priority because we can't take your stuff off your trailer. We have nothing to process the stuff through. And I'm like, man, like, I'm like, okay, you know, like, I need a solution, because now I'm having to cancel my next loads. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna get home for the holidays. Like, you got to work with me here. So he's like, okay, you know, like,
keep left,
you know, if you need to drop your trailer and go somewhere, or, you know, like, by all means, please do that. You know, you have my permission. Here's my name. Here's my cell phone number if you need to call me directly. I'm like, great, this is the first phone number I've gotten all day. So really, really cool guy. He's like really understanding. And I was like, and two, and he was like, you gotta go to the bathroom or anything? And I'm like, no, I don't have to go to the bathroom because I just had to use this stupid porta potty. You know, and it's 31 degrees outside. So he's like, man, they should have let you in here. And I'm like, there's no way to get in this building without a badge. Like, I can't tell anyone that I have to go to the bathroom. So he's like, if you gotta go to the bathroom while you're here, call me. I'll come open the door. I'll send somebody to come open the door. You know, if you're gonna drop your trailer, drop it. Go get something to eat. Go get a shower. Do what you need to do. And just call me when you're back. And I was like, okay. So he was really understanding. So I dropped my trailer. I bobtail like 13, 14 miles to the Loves. Got me something to eat. Got a shower. You know, allowed myself to get reset. And then, of course, me being me, I felt bad. So when I got back, picked my trailer back up, restaged back in front of the docks, and I called him. I'm like, hey, this is, you know, this is such and such with Landstar. You know, I'm back. You know, and I wanted to apologize. I did snap on you. You know, I feel better now. But I did want to apologize. He was like, oh, you went and got a shower and something to eat, huh? I'm like, yeah, you know, I reset. But I just wanted to let you know that I apologize. But I am back, so whenever you have a door, let me know so so I can leave. He's like, I got you covered. So this all took place. I probably got back like 3 or 4 p.m. Yeah, 3 or 4 p.m. I had to cancel that last load. My last load was supposed to pick up at 1:30. Had to cancel that. So talked to him and I was like, okay, fine. I'm good now. I reset. I feel better. Just wait on the door. So go back in my truck and I doze off because I've been up for a while. So I took a nap. And I got woken up by a knock on the door. I didn't know there was a weigh station right here. There was a knock on the door. And I'm like, oh, great, they got a door. So I get up, throw some clothes back on, open the door. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And it was one of the yard people. And she's like, hey, we're having to ask you guys to move. So, like, we need you to move. Like, I'm new here and I don't really drive that well yet, so you're kind of in the way. I'm like, one, you woke me out of my sleep to tell me that. 2, what do you mean? I've been parked here, and this I actually told her. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I've been parked here for hours. Like, everyone says has been moved. There's plenty of room here. Like, I don't understand. She's like, I'm super sorry. Like, but I'm having to ask everybody to move. I don't feel safe doing my job because I feel like I'm going to hit you guys' vehicle. And in my mind, I'm like, 1, that's not my problem. And 2, like, I'm waiting to be unloaded. So if you can, like, get on the inside and let people know that, whatever. So I ended up saying, like, well, I was told here by the supervisor to park right here. I'm waiting on the door to get unloaded. I've already been here at this point for 34 hours. And she's like, oh, well, that's fine, but you still gotta move. I'm like, can you call your supervisor out here? Like, she was like, yeah. So she walks off to get, to get her supervisor. I called the supervisor from earlier because I know he's still here, but it ended up going to voicemail. So I was like, whatever. So then her supervisor comes out, and it happens to be not the guy I've been working with, but it's the other supervisor is being trained by the person I've been talking to. I'm like, hey, I've been working with such and such. Here's his name. I have his phone number. We've been in contact since I've been here. I'm waiting on a door. And he's like, oh, you're that guy. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, okay. The machines are still down, but we're working on it. And I'm like, that's not good enough. Like, I've already had to miss out. I've had to cancel 2 loads now because I can't get out of here. Like, you guys got to give me something better than that. He was like, we're working on it. Unfortunately, I still have to ask you guys to move because at this point, it was me and 2 other trucks that were parked there. I think the other trucks were already staged in the back. He's like, if just go park anywhere back there. And as soon as the door opens up, we're going to call you. And I'm like, okay, I've heard this before. I'm going to be here a whole nother day. I went in, get parked, handle the situation that was going on elsewhere. All in all, ended up parking back there. So probably at this point it was like 11:30, midnight. I get a knock on the door. I come out, he's like, hey, you're one of the live load drivers waiting to get unloaded, right? And I was like, yes. He's like, door 59. I'm like, yeah, finally, so I can at least leave here and go home, This guy keeps adjusting his speed. Cut it out. So get back into a door. I'm like, man, it should be quick. I think it was like 18 pieces. Like, it should be quick, man. Like, I should be in, hit the door, and gone. I'm just now leaving. So I've been talking now for 20 minutes. So I left at like 2:30. Or, 2:30 in the morning. Finally leaving, finally gone. I have to call Landstar. Well, I have to call the agent in the morning because they're already gone for the day. But after that, I had to call customer service to figure out exactly how I'm going to be compensated for this, because I don't know if it's detention for the 26 hours, or are they going to try and brush it over with a layover pay? And, you know, missing out on 2 revenue loads, like, I get it, it's money that I haven't earned, but, you know, it's different from... Anyway, I gotta call and find out what, you know, how that's gonna get resolved, because I need to be paid for this. But anyway, I just wanted to come and rant. And this is gonna be a long video. Ironically enough, I've recorded this video 3 times already. So this is the 4th time I've recorded this video, because every time that I went to go review the previous video, I'm like, man, I can't post this. Like, I'm just angry. I'm angry, fumbling over words, and pissed off at the world. And I was like, nah, I can't do this. And then 2, I also didn't have a resolution of like, how long were you actually stuck there? Like, what actually was going on? So I was like, well, let me just get, you know, leave from the receiver after I'm empty, and then try and record a video. Maybe I'll feel better. And I do. I feel a lot better now. I am still livid that I've had to sit here, you know, almost 2 whole days. I got a full 34-hour reset sitting in their lot. And but I feel better that I'm actually leaving. I'm actually going home for, you know, for the holidays. Like, they actually got me out at a pretty decent time. By the time I get home, I can drive straight to my local shop, get my truck and trailer inspected, because they are about to expire like next week, and I'm not driving next week. So I have to go take care of that. And I can get my DOT physical is about to expire. I can get that done. So all in all, I am never doing this load again. Like, if I see that agency, I'm not doing it. And it's nothing against the agency. It's really just this facility. You know, I get it. It was kind of like a fluke thing. But fool me once, shame on me. You know what I mean? It's kind of that aspect. Like, there's no way I'm doing it again. So that's gonna be the end of this video. Moral of the story: keep documentation. You know, if you're keeping your documentation by phone calls, like if you're calling the agent and telling them something, like, don't do that. If they're texting you, text them back. If they're emailing you, email them back. Have a paper trail, because now all of that documentation I had dealing with this agency, I can now take to Landstar for a better resolution, because I've offered multiple solutions for this load, and they were all shot down. You know, I asked to take the load back to the shipper. I asked to offload at a different facility. I asked to offload at a different area. You know, I offered to unload the truck myself by hand. Like, that's how light the boxes were. Like, I'm pretty sure the 2,000 pounds was like a placeholder weight. I literally, like, one of the boxes, they had, you know, a shift of boxes that were loose. I literally could pick it up by hand. It was like 1, maybe 2 pounds per box. I'm like, I can unload it by hand if you want. Like, just get me out of here. So I'm about to take all that documentation, send it to Landstar. Like, I tried multiple solutions. I couldn't get out of here. I've lost 2 loads. You know, what do you want me to do? So they gotta figure something out. Anyway, I'm gonna get off here so I can focus on driving, because it's starting to rain, or rain harder than it has been. So, like I always say, if you're thinking, you might as well do it logically. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Y'all be safe. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And I'll see you guys next year. Peace.